So let's take a look at the MOTU Micro Express. This is a MIDI timecode generator. It also will convert audio SMPTE timecode to MIDI timecode, and it can also route MIDI signals, rather just be regular MIDI notes or MIDI timecode to different ports. I have the original unit that I purchased years ago and I've been using for quite some time, and then this is the more modern version, and I'll get into why I purchased this and that sort of thing. So first of all, let's look at the older unit. The first things that you'll notice is there's actually a power switch that I've taped on, just because it's a very small power switch and it's very easy to accidentally flip off. There are different buttons here that can set the different modes, and you can look on the front here for the routing, so you can see what's being routed where, because you can put MIDI into it and you can also have MIDI taken out of it. And I've taped over the inputs just as kind of a idiot prevention device. Basically, if I give this to somebody else and I say, hey, just plug into the ports on the back, all 6 or all 5 of these on the back are outputs, and then there's 3 inputs here, and there also is 1 input and 1 output on the front. The device is built really well. It's made out of sheet steel. It's built extremely well. The other thing to keep in mind is this device this older device took power, and it did have the SMPTE loop in and out on it, which was nice. There was an older model than this that actually, instead of USB, had a parallel port, and you'd have to have a computer that had that. I do have another one of these that was Mac only. For whatever reason, it only works on a Mac. Kind of interesting. It was USB, but and it even said that it was Mac and Windows compatible, but for whatever reason it has a firmware version on it that is only Mac compatible. So comparing this to the new device is a little bit lighter. The dimensions are almost exactly the same. The width is pretty much exactly the same. The depth is it's a little bit deeper, but that's okay. And the height is right about 1 rack unit. Now what's really nice about the new unit is you can see that there's these Allen screws on here, and these are to allow you to rack mount multiple of these units together, and you could have for redundancy, or maybe you want to have different things running different time. For example, in my case, having SMPTE timecode come in, and then maybe you want to have one as a primary and one as a backup, or you could do lots of different things. What's really nice is that you do have metal hardware. Everything is metal in this, which is very nice. The other thing is that it actually comes with the USB cable that you need to connect, which is also a benefit. Now, the main difference to note right out of the gate with these two devices is this original device took a AC power adapter, and there was a region switch here, so you can change between 120 volts and 240 or 220. This new device does not require this. It is USB powered, which is fantastic for mobile jobs. So in my case, I actually use this for a Christmas parade every year, and we run everything off of laptops. Now, there's plenty of power on the floats that we use these for, but it's nice to just cut down on cable. We don't have to have another section on a power strip used up. We can just, if I really want to, I could literally Velcro this to the top of a laptop, or I could Velcro the laptop to the top of this and make everything nice and rigid and stable. Another thing to note is this is made out of sheet metal. This is probably made out of either aluminum or zinc, And again, it's all metal, which is really nice. They didn't go with the plastic route. So this feels very well built. Like I said, it's a little bit lighter than the original, I believe. Now, you're probably wondering why I actually had this guy Velcroed to the top here. I got Velcro on the back, nice industrial Velcro. The reason being is these devices, the MOTU devices, require software. Now, back in the day when you originally would get these devices, you would actually have to make a login in order to get access to the software. And you'd have to make the login, wait for the confirmation email, go into the page, and then request for the drivers, and then download them, blah, blah, blah. It was a pain, especially when you were under the gun and you had a laptop failure, or you had somebody bring their laptop or something. If you wanted to connect this to a lighting console, and you needed to get time code into it, and it, consoles are not, they're either Windows based or Linux based, but they're not like a regular Windows machine that you can load drivers onto. It just has to be plug and play, and it has to work. So the reason for this box on top is this was the only purpose of this box was to convert from SMPTE timecode to MIDI timecode. And then basically what I would do is I would take this jumper wire, and I would come out of the front of this guy right here, go into the input here. So basically this was converting SMPTE audio timecode into MIDI timecode, coming out of this device, went into this device, and then connected through USB. And this was a generic plug and play device, which was fantastic because it just automatically was recognized by most consoles. So I am a hog programmer, so it works on the high-end systems consoles. I believe it also works on the Grand MA consoles and a bunch of other different consoles. It would work right out of the box. Didn't have to fuss with drivers, didn't have to worry about an internet connection and getting everything up and running. That was great. So that was my solution to not having to worry about drivers. The new box, you still have to have the MOTU Clockworks software, and it still has to be installed. But if you're in the situation that I'm in, where you still want to be able to plug in a plug and play device, you can still use this device and put it on top like this. The thing that I really like about this is if we get another one of these converters, say for example, if I was doing it for redundancy, if there was some sort of failure, I do like the fact that this device is rack mountable. This is rack mountable too, but you'd have to put in a tray or something. It's nice to see that it came with the hardware specifically made for this. However, I would have liked to have seen a bridge that would allow, if you only had one of these devices, to just bridge it over to make it just be rack mountable right out of the gate, not have to worry about buying a second one of these devices. In a different video, I actually did a review comparing another product made by MOTU. It was the MIDI Express XT, and then the MIDI Express XT is exactly the same. The only difference is that it is a full 1U rack space, and it had a power switch on it. I didn't even remember that it had a power switch, but I'm seeing it on the diagram here. But regardless, it was automatically a 1U rack unit. This is a half rack unit, which is fine by me if they actually came out with that little bridge there. And the major differences were that it had more inputs and outputs, which was fine. But in my case, I'm plenty happy with the 6 that it has. Actually, I would probably never need more than 4. And that one did require a power supply, unlike this one, the new one, which is USB powered, which is fantastic. That is the other thing, if you notice here, that I love about this unit also, is there is no power switch. There's nothing worse than being on a show and not realizing something stupid, that like the power switch I've had power switches fail before for whatever reason. They get corrosion, something weird happens where just over time it stops working. And to be quite honest, there's no reason that it needs to be turned off, because typically when you turn off a system, everything gets turned off. So there's a master power switch. So I personally don't like power switches, and if I do, I want them to be hidden somewhere, because normally if this is going to be in a rack or in a permanent setup, the whole rack is going to get turned off. So they still give you the routing layout here, and with the indication LEDs here, which is fine by me. It's a lot more condensed of a look on this than this. It's totally fine by me. The buttons here, pretty much the same. These on my other unit, the white buttons have actually yellowed over time. This one's actually in fairly good condition. But I can't fault anything for how the buttons feel or how they work. They do look like they're a little bit recessed, so that they're not going to get bumped as easily. These ones protrude a lot more. So if you actually look at the front of the device, you can see that these buttons actually stick out a fair bit, and they have gotten bumped before. It's not very common, but it can happen. If you look on the newer unit, the buttons are a lot more recessed, which helps. Going on the back, both units do have the SMPTE in and loop out. The one thing that I didn't like about this device overall, comparing the old one to the new one, the one thing that I don't like is that they don't have a model, like for example on the XT, that they don't have a XLR connector for the SMPTE, because RTS, quarter-inch RTS is not a locking connector. It can pull out, just like a USB cable can pull out. It's not the end of the world, but it's something that, you know, it would have been nice to see that added, especially on the larger one. It's okay that it's not on this one, but the XT model didn't have XLR connectors, which kind of sucked. But the other thing that I really like is that they kept the full-size USB cable. A lot of people are switching or have switched over to mini USB, micro USB. USB-C is okay. I still think for this application, the full-size USB is a better option. It's more robust for people to bump and to, you know, move around, as opposed to a USB-C. USB-C is flimsy compared to this. Micro USB is extremely flimsy, and so USB, mini USB and micro USB are very prone to having the little center tab breaking off. I've actually had it happen on a lot of different products where the little tab breaks off and then it becomes totally useless and you have to go into it and then you have to replace it, and it's a whole job. This, I don't think I've ever seen one of these break on any type of device, you know, printers, anything. And this is more common of a cable to have than the mini USB or the micro USB. USB-C has kind of replaced everything, but it's nice to see that they kept with this connector. So overall, everything on the software side is exactly the same. It still uses the Clockworks software. Everything will be exactly, if you've used these before. It's a very simple interface. Just looks like that. You can run time code right out of the gate. You can hit play and it'll start from all zero and it'll work its way up, and you can set what standard you want or what frame rate you want. And then you can make your own presets. It shows you the layout and the workflow, and it goes over everything in the manual. That's the other thing is you know, I know that a lot of people are trying to go for more of a, and this is the routing table here. This shows you how the inputs and outputs are actually routed on the device, which is really handy. So this is also inside the software that you get, and it is Mac and PC compatible, both the older version and the new one. I really like the fact that they included a manual, and the reason I say this is when you're on a show and you're in a show environment, it's not always easy to pull out your phone or pull out a computer and ask somebody for the Wi-Fi password, or you're in a rural area doing a show where there's no internet and you're just trying to figure out this one stupid thing. Sometimes if you have a device, you just want to have a manual in hand. And I know that a lot of people will say that it's wasting paper and it's bad for the environment. I totally get that. But in these rare instances, this is a consumer device. It's a prosumer device, but it's not like a cell phone where you pull out a cell phone and you know how to work the cell phone. You know how to unlock it. You know how to work it. This is a little bit different. There might be some things that you don't understand about the device, and it's nice to actually have a detailed manual that has pictures and diagrams and good descriptions of things, and then it's small. It's about the size of the device, so you can just keep it with the device. It's not this big thing. So I think this was really nice on their part to include this. So overall, I would say the improvements that they've made, the fact that they made it rack mountable out of the box. Again, the only thing that I would say to include would be the spacer bar, so you could actually rack mount just this one unit and it would just have a blank filling in the rest of the space. That would be very handy to make this more usable for rack mount. But the fact that it's rack mounted out of the box is fantastic. I love that they did not compromise on the build quality. And the most important fact to me is that they took away the AC power supply altogether and they made it so you can just run it purely off of USB. That is probably the most fantastic thing about it. Housing, build quality, fantastic. It's just like the old one. I like the new design. It also has venting on here, which is good. For being put into a rack, it can vent and not get overheated. I guess the only downside is for me when I'm doing parades. This is in an outdoor environment. If I did get some water, this is sealed all the way around. Water can't get in, but I can't fault them for this. I actually like the fact that it has ventilation on it, so that it's going to try to stay cool. So, the old with the new. Check out my other video if you're interested in comparing some of the other SMPTE to USB timecode converters on the market. There was another one that I reviewed, and it was actually comparing the MOTU XT. And I had purchased the XT because it was the only thing available on the market at the time. It was the only device that was in stock at the time. There was another USB device that I would have absolutely loved to have used. It had XLR connectors, whatever, with USB, but it did not work. It kept losing timecode. It kept losing sync and kept disconnecting. So I've been using MOTU devices over the years, and even in my testing with the XT, the MOTU was way more reliable than a competing product for converting SMPTE timecode to USB MIDI timecode. So anyway, if you guys like this video, let me know by giving it a thumbs up that it was good content for you guys to watch, if it was helpful. Also, I'm going to put Amazon affiliate links in the description for this and the XT, and that helps out the channel so I can purchase more stuff to show you guys. These products I all buy for myself, for my own use. So when I purchase something, it's because I'm going to be actively using it, and the reviews that I make are on devices that I have either tested fully or are currently testing. And this box I have tested fully on a show that ran for about a month, and I had no issues with the box. I never lost sync as far as putting in a SMPTE timecode signal and making sure that it came out. There was no issue with that. So anyway, love the product. I love MOTU's products. I think they have a good product line. Another plus side that I have to give MOTU a lot of credit on, their website now, if you go to their website, and they changed this a couple of years ago, that if you go to their website, you don't have to make an account. You don't have to log in to get the drivers anymore, which is absolutely fantastic, because there's nothing worse than being on a job site trying to get the driver for whatever, and you're behind a login wall or some stupid authentication thing. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.